Well, now tonight we turn our attention to cars, and in particular diesel cars, which the majority of Irish drivers now choose over petrol cars. They've been marketed as economical, more environmentally friendly and even clean. But as Coleman O'Sullivan now reports, a vital filter in the exhaust is frequently being removed, exposing all of us to serious health hazards.
One of the world's largest car manufacturers has been brought to its knees by cheating the tests on the levels of choking pollutants that are pouring out of their exhaust pipes. But all over Ireland, garages are entirely removing the filters designed to stop pollution getting into our lungs, and quite legally advertising that it will never be spotted. You can't see them. They're tiny pieces of soot, ash or dust, but particulates can kill. They can cause cancer, heart attacks and lung disease. Children and the elderly are most affected. Diesel engines produce a lot of very fine soot and ash, which is why in recent years diesel car manufacturers have been putting particulate filters into their cars to make sure that they meet modern emission standards. The filter is part of the exhaust system and can catch up to 80% of the dust pollution. Some motorists are taking out those filters, while authorities in other countries are clamping down on what they regard as a threat to public health. In Ireland, it does not seem to have consequences for those involved.
These are very, very tiny particles which can penetrate very deep into your lungs. There have been lots of studies which essentially count the number of heart attack cases in hospitals and also the concentration of particulate matter, and we can show directly as so much of an increase in particulate matter in the atmosphere, we will see corresponding increases in admissions to hospitals. So because heart attacks is such a big killer of people worldwide, that's why it's a very concerning area, and so it's a problem right throughout Europe.
Particulates are not good for anybody. Pedestrians and cyclists are more exposed. Cyclists tend to get a higher dose because they are breathing more heavily.
The Bosbach family cycle through Dublin's inner city on their daily commute. It takes them along a mixture of quieter streets and some busy routes during the morning rush hour.
When you're up in the mountains and on a clear day like today, you would see the smog sitting on the city. So that's when you realize, even though you can't really see it during the day, but from afar you actually realize how much pollution there is over the city. And Dublin, I suppose, has a lot of wind, which helps a lot to kind of clear out the city, but it's still there. And it's not the cleanest city in Europe, certainly.
Our particulate emissions, or our emissions from passenger diesel cars have gone up significantly over the past number of years, from a case where they were really a minor proportion back in the 80s to being one of the dominant sources at the moment.
There are more diesel cars on Irish roads than ever before. In recent years, the sales of diesel cars have outstripped petrol models by 2 to 1. Since 2008, they've benefited from lower rates of motor tax because they emit less carbon dioxide, the major greenhouse gas. But diesel pollution is more dangerous to human health. Manufacturers promise to clean up diesel engines, and filters are their answer to that problem.
Particulate filter is right here at the back of the engine. So its job is, it's exactly as it says, it is a filter, and its job is to filter particulate, soot particulate out of the exhaust system before going out the back of the car.
The filter is supposed to clean itself out, but if a diesel car is being used mainly in cities or towns, that may not happen. And since 2008, they've become much more popular amongst city dwellers.
If you live, for example, in a larger city like in Dublin or Cork, and your drive cycle is predominantly urban, so short trips, 5-10 kilometres, you're going to have problems with the DPF on it. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. The cars need regular, extended drives at above 60 kilometres an hour, so the car can reach full operating temperature, and if it goes into what's known as a dynamic regeneration, that process can happen.
When the soot builds up, the filter gets blocked and a warning light comes on. It's a problem that can't be ignored.
If it's become so badly clogged, like on the Volkswagen we have here, if it gets to a certain stage, it will no longer allow the car to regenerate. If that happens, the only option is to actually replace the filter on it anywhere in between 1,500 up to 2,000 euros sometimes on some cars.
When the filter blocks, motorists are faced with a few options. Replace or clean, which can be costly, or remove, which makes the problem go away permanently. Most garages would not do this.
My personal answer is no, I won't do it. One, the filter is on there for a reason. It's there to prevent pollution out into the atmosphere. Two, the manufacturers have spent a lot of money developing the engine with that particulate filter in place. All the components are all designed to work together. If you remove any component from the engine, it has a knock-on effect to the rest of the car, and you may affect, for example, the turbo, the lifespan of that, or damage the engine in another way.
The exact numbers of vehicles that have had the filter removed is unknown, as the NCT doesn't pick this up. However, it is not hard to find people offering to remove the filters. Doing a quick search online, we found 25 garages or individuals in 14 counties openly advertising the service. When contacted, none of those would give an interview. Some said they feared consequences if they did. In other European countries, action has been taken against garages. But in Ireland, it seems the garages are not breaking the law. It is not illegal to take the particle filter out of a diesel car. But the owner or driver of a car will be breaking the law, because it becomes illegal to drive it on a public road. According to the Department of Transport, the law says every vehicle and trailer shall be maintained in such a condition that there will not be emitted any smoke, grit, sparks, ashes or other substances which could reasonably be prevented.
If they are the person who engaged a professional to actually remove the filter or interfere with the filter, and it's important to say that it's not just the filter and the removal of the filter. You also have to hoodwink the car itself as well into thinking that the system is still operating, and that means actually interfering with the onboard computer in the car, the ECU system, or it's called mapping, where you interfere with the data sets and the vehicle control management system, and that again is also an offence if it's detected.
But it can be hard to catch. Some garages claim they can remove the filter in a way that will not be spotted in a visual inspection. The Road Safety Authority says the NCT, as it is now, cannot pick this up.
Unless we can physically see that it has been removed from the NCT or removed from the control system, we cannot fail, nor can we fail in relation to the particulates that are coming out of the exhaust, because all we can do is measure the CO2, and that's the opacity test, and that just looks at the colour of the smoke that's coming out of the vehicle. It doesn't break down that gas, and as I said, that's not a problem that's unique to Ireland. I'm afraid that's a problem that's all vehicle testing regimes face right across Europe, and it is something that is being looked at a European level.
Those who work in the trade say it should not be too hard to spot a car which has had its DPF removed.
The easiest way to tell is if you go to the exhaust tailpipe. If you clean the inside or wipe your finger around the inside, the tailpipe will be clean. It'll be shiny and clean on the car with the DPF on it. If the DPF has been removed, you'll usually get a fairly heavy layer of soot on the exhaust. That's the quickest way to do it.
That test is not conclusive, but it could lead a tester to investigate further. One more certain way is to look at the car's computer or electronic control unit to see if the software has been altered.
For us to have access to that data on the onboard computer in the car, it would require a European directive and things to move at a European level, but also it would require buy-in as well from the manufacturers as well to share the data in relation to makes and models of cars, but also to update that as well.
Driving a car which has had the filter removed in Ireland could have some consequences. Removal of the filter means the vehicle has been modified, and according to Insurance Ireland, if a motorist does not notify their insurer, that could compromise their cover or any claim they make. But when it comes to the law, it seems the motorist would have little to fear. The NCT or Gardaí are unlikely to catch them out. As for the garages, we checked if businesses offering this service here are risking prosecution. The Department of Transport says this is an issue which comes under consumer protection legislation and is best directed to the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. But that agency says relying on consumer protection legislation isn't an effective way of addressing this issue. The Commission can only act if a garage deceives a customer by, for example, removing the filter without telling them that this will make the car illegal to drive on a public road, or by selling them a car which has had the filter removed. But other countries are acting on this issue. The UK introduced a visual check in February 2014. Since then, the MOT there has detected almost 1,200 cars with missing particulate filters. Those failed the MOT and cannot be driven until the filters are replaced. In Spain, police raided 8 garages in Madrid last October and arrested people. They say they may use the information from that operation to target hundreds more garages. In the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency went after a company which had been selling devices for removing diesel filters. It agreed to pay a $500,000 fine. But to date, no motorist or garage in Ireland has been penalised, and there is no immediate prospect that anyone will be.